Hey guys, so to start off, I want to show you how we're going to run our Ruby programs, show you how they get interpreted, show you where the application that you use to do the interpreting lives on your computer, um, and just give you an overview of this kind of stuff, right? So we're going to be using the application called Terminal. That is what it's called for Mac. For Windows users, I think it's called Command Prompt, or something along those lines. It's going to be a different application. Um, but if you go into Finder and go into your Applications folder, there's a subfolder called Utilities. And within Utilities, you will find this terminal application. So this application actually is what's known as a GUI, graphical user interface for accessing the command line. And so this is just really an application that allows us to talk to our computer. And we're able to talk to our computer through what's called a shell. And the shell that Apple chose to use is Bash. We're not going to go into a whole lot about what shells are. This is a Ruby course, and not a whole lot of detail about shells and stuff is really needed um, to learn how to program in Ruby. But it's just good to know what it is that you're doing. And so whenever we type something into the command line, we're actually using Bash to talk to our computer. So one command that we can type is ls, which is a command that Bash gives us to talk to our computer. And what this is going to do is list out our current directory. So the way we execute commands is by pressing return. And now we can see within Jack's MacBook Pro user, Jack Bjorn, root directory are all of these things: AngularJS folder, downloads, Dropbox. You can see all these fun little things that I have in my main directory. So then if we want to access a different shell, well, not if we want to access a different shell, we are going to access a different shell, and that shell is going to be IRB, also known as the Interactive Ruby Interpreter. And so that is going to be where we live to run different applications. So now that we're in IRB, you can see that the shell name changed from Bash to Ruby. We get a new set of commands that we can use to run Ruby programs. And so we're going to run through a quick little Ruby program. And you guys might not even consider it a program, but it kind of is a mini program in of itself. And we're going to do some just basic arithmetic. And to start, I want to introduce you guys to your first Ruby object. We're going to be going into more detail about what objects are and how to use them in the course. But this first object is an integer object. So you know what an integer is. I don't need to tell you that. But if you press 3 and press enter, you can see that we typed in the command of 3, and upon executing that command by pressing enter, we're returned with the output of 3. So then if we want to do something with this 3, we have to tell the command line, tell it something to do. And if it's able to do that, it will execute. Otherwise, we'll be met with an error. So, Ruby syntax gives us access to basic arithmetic really easily. So we can do 3 plus 5. And you can see, just to show you, it actually did the calculation for you and returned a value of 8. And that itself is a quick little Ruby program that you just executed. That was your first ever Ruby program if you're coding along right now, which I recommend that you do, just to get a feel for the syntax. If you do 3 minus 5, you'll also get met with the correct output of -2. You have access to multiplication, 3 times 10. You have access to division, 10 divided by 2. Now if we try something that will not work, we are met with an error. So you can see that Ruby gives us back this error, 0 division error, divide by 0. And we know we can't do that. But that's a good thing to know, is that Ruby will tell us when we're doing something wrong. Now the error messages aren't always super clear right away, but you'll become more familiar with the different error messages that you get as you continue to program. The more you program, the more you see these errors, the more you know what they mean. And really a good way to think about it is that you just figured out a new way that doesn't work to get whatever solution you're trying to get, from your program. Whatever problem you're trying to solve, you just realized I can't do it that way. So it's actually an okay thing. And so like I said, this is actually your first Ruby object. And we can see what kind of object it is by calling a class method on it, 3.class. And it's a fixed num, which also known as an integer in Ruby. Now, I know I just got ahead of ourselves a little bit. Just wanted to show you that one little method. We're going to go into more details about methods, what exactly I just did here in later videos. But I just wanted to give you guys an overview of the interpreter, of the command line, of your first Ruby object, and congratulate you on completing your first Ruby program. And I'll see you in the next video.